Yo, my name's Aaron and welcome to this easy beginner acoustic guitar lesson for I'm Yours by Jason Mraz. The original version has a slightly complex strumming pattern, but I've condensed all that down so that hopefully beginners will find it more manageable. You're going to need a capo on the 4th fret for this, and we're going to start by learning all of the individual chord shapes. So without further ado, let's get zoomed in. As a handy reference for you, all the chords that are used in this song are on your screen right now, plus a couple of handy, easier alternative chords that you can use if you find the original ones a little bit too difficult. Also, just take note of the fact that this here is the 4th fret where the capo is. So 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, etc. Just so you know where we are. So the first chord you need to know for this song is a G major chord. First finger goes on the 1st fret of the A string. Second finger goes on fret 3 of the low E string. The 3rd finger goes to fret 3 of the B string, and the pinky goes to fret 3 of the high E string. And you put all those fingers down together and strum all 6 strings with your pick. And that gives you the G chord. If you do want an easier version of a G chord, you can just use these 2 fingers and take these 2 away. That's actually going to give you a G6, but if you do find a normal G a bit too difficult, you can do a G6 instead. The next chord you need to know is a D major chord. You're going to play an open D string, which isn't fretted at all. Your first finger goes to fret 2 of the G string. Your second finger goes to fret 2 of the high E string. And your 3rd finger goes to fret 3 of the B string. And you put all those fingers on together and you strum the thinnest 4 strings. And that gives you a D chord. Now, if you do struggle with that D chord a little bit and it's a bit cramped, you can remove this finger here, this second finger, and you can just play the same 4 strings and you'll get a D sus2 instead. The next chord we need to know is E minor. We put our first finger on fret 2 of the A string, our second finger on fret 2 of the D string, and then we strum all 6 strings. The next chord we need to know is a C major chord. So our first finger comes to fret 1 of the B, our second finger fret 2 of the D, and you can actually stop right there and just play that as your C chord and play the thinnest 4 strings. That'll give you a certain version of a C chord, which is usable, slightly easier. If you want to do the full C chord, you can bring your 3rd finger to fret 3 of the A string there, and play your full C chord, and you're only going to strum 5 strings. Don't strum the low E string, you don't need to use that one. Another alternative to C is C add 9, which is this one here, which is very similar to your G chord, but with these 2 fingers moving down to here. Okay, so first finger fret 2 of the D string, second finger fret 3 of the A string, 3rd finger fret 3 of the B, pinky fret 3 of the high E. And you strum 5 strings. Slightly different sound, but a good alternative to the C chord. And the last chord you need to know is an A7 chord. So you put your first finger on fret 2 of the D, and then you can put your second finger on fret 2 of the B. And you're going to strum 5 strings, like so. And that's your A7 chord there. And that's it for the chords. Let's move on to the strumming and structure. If you haven't downloaded my beginner guitar survival kit yet, you can do so totally free from a link in the description. So let's have a look at the strumming pattern in this song. The original song, like I said before, is a little bit pacey, so I've simplified it. We're going to use all downstrokes. I'm going to exemplify it to you now at the original song tempo of 151 beats per minute. Keep an eye on my strumming hand and how I'm always doing downstrokes. I'm not doing any upstrokes. Here we go. A 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's played at the original speed, and it has this kind of percussive element to it anyway, and I've done that purposefully by separating out the bass note from the lighter strings of the chord. So what I want you to listen for when I exemplify this in a second more slowly is the difference between me playing a single bass note of the chord and then playing the lighter strings, and how it kind of has this dum-da, dum-da, dum-da kind of effect to it. So let's slow it down to 100 beats per minute. And let's try that again. 3, 4. hear that difference? Got bass note, high notes, bass note, high notes, bass note, high notes. I'll do that one more time. So let's take you through each individual chord, because that is the main chord progression that's used throughout pretty much the whole song, and we will go into the details of the slightly different sections as well, but let's work on the predominant chord progression first. We're starting with this G chord, and I'm plucking the low E string, which is the G note of the G chord, with a downstroke towards the floor, and then I'm plucking the lighter 3 strings. You hear that difference? Bass note, lighter strings, and it's that repetitive pattern that I'm using for all of the chords. So when we go to the D chord, we hit the bass note of the D chord, and then the lighter strings of the D chord, the G, B, and high E strings. And then when we go to the E minor chord, again it's the bass note of the E minor chord, and the lighter 3 strings. And then for the C chord, it's the bass note of the C chord, which is the 3rd fret of the A string there, and the lighter strings once again. Just a little note, as you're going for those lighter strings, if you don't catch all 3 or if you catch 4 by accident, doesn't really matter. What you're looking for is a slight difference in sound that gives it that percussive element, that percussive feel. So once you know that chord progression, you're pretty much solid for most of the song, but there are a few different parts. So I'm going to take you through section by section now, and I'll tell you where that is in the song as well in terms of the actual timestamp, so you can reference the original track as we go along. So of course we're going to kick it off with the intro, which comes in at 0 seconds, and it's G, D, E minor, C played once. So ba-da-ba, G, ba-da-ba, D, ba-da-ba, E minor, ba-ba-ba-da, C, okay? For the verse that comes in at 13 seconds, you just play that same chord progression again, but you do it twice in a row. Then we get to the first chorus, which is at 38 seconds. You do that same chord progression again, but only once. Then for the second intro at 51 seconds, you do the same chord progression again, only once. You can see how this chord progression is very dominant throughout this entire track, right? Then we get to verse 2 at 1 minute 4 seconds, and we do the same chord progression twice in a row. Then we get to the pre-chorus at 1 minute 30, and this is where we have a slightly different thing happening in the song. So he goes, love, 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 there at 1 minute 30, and that is an A7 chord. And what you're going to do with that A7 chord is go a 1, 2, 3, 4, stop, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be love, 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 3, 4, stop, 2, 3, and I won't, into the next chorus. Okay, so chorus 2 is at 1 minute 32 seconds, and you go back to G, D, E minor, C, and you play that twice in a row. And then you get to the bridge section at 1 minute 58 seconds, and this chord progression is very slightly different in a couple of ways. First of all, you've got actual different order of chords. You've got an additional D chord in the middle there, and second of all, every chord only really lasts for 2 beats on the first part, so listen out for where those changes are. So I'm going to do it very, very slowly, the bridge, and I'm going to do it at 100 beats per minute. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, G, D, E minor, back to D, and then C, 2, 3, 4, C again, 3, 4, A7, and stop, 2, 3, 4. And over that first A7, that's where he says, near by your ear. And then he goes, zoo ba boo ba boo ba bow. And he goes into the same chord progression again, and at the end it just has slightly a different vocal. And that's where your second A7 chord comes in. Then we have verse 3, which starts at 2 minutes and 23 seconds. This is the part where the drums completely cut out. And again, you can just do that same strumming pattern, G, D, E minor, and then C. Then after that, we've got chorus number 3 at 2 minutes 48 seconds. Same chord progression again. Then at 3 minutes 1 second, we've got the same chord progression again. And then at 3 minutes 13 seconds, where he's singing, please don't, please don't, please don't, there's no need to hesitate. And that's the same chord progression again. Then at 3 minutes 27, we get that A7 chord once again. Okay? And then the chord progression basically remains the same for the entire rest of the song. If you found this tutorial helpful, please check out the video that is on your screen now.